So recently there's been quite a bit of fear, quite a bit of discussion, and quite a lot of optimism about the new attribute system coming soon to Hypixel Skyblock. I want to talk today about the system as a whole and why I think generally things are going to turn out alright, although the admins do need to communicate quite a bit more. My name is Derailious, and without any further ado, let's launch right into this. So starting off, the new attribute system is going to be significantly different than the current way things work. You will no longer be able to directly apply attributes onto items and will have progress kept in an attribute menu where you can select a set amount of attributes from a collection. Basically, you can have up to 4 combat attributes on at a time, 2 of every other skill, and 2 global attributes. You're going to get attributes through a new system of hunting, which is a new skill that's coming soon with the foraging update, in which you can trap or use salts to capture mobs and get the attributes. For example, if you kill or hunt flares, you will get the blazing attribute, which increases damage against monsters on the Crimson Isle by 5 to 50%. There will still be 10 tiers with the attribute system, but the scaling will be very different. Now what this obviously means is that the current system, in which you can have god rolls on gear, will no longer exist. You're not going to have them on items, and currently how it's going to work out is that when you have a god roll piece of gear and the foraging update drops, those attributes are not going to work anymore. So what's going to happen to these god rolls, and what's going to happen to the money that you possibly have invested? Well, the first thing that the admins state is that there's no need to concern yourself with this system. During the transition, they will make sure that you retain your existing progress and will be more generous than needed. What I think this means is that if you have a god roll setup, you'll be able to convert that god roll into the attributes at a pretty much 1-to-1 rate. Keep in mind that even though there are 10 tiers for each attribute, it doesn't mean that all of the scaling is going to be exactly the same, and things like Vitality, for example, might get buffed to have a higher overall maximum, because obviously you're not going to be able to put it on 4 pieces of gear anymore or more. You're going to have it only be one single clickable button through the attribute menu. So generally things will be quite a bit stronger based on the attributes you have, and I imagine that players will get the vast majority of their investments refunded to them. So basically, if you have god rolls, if you've invested a ton of money, you should not panic. Another reason why you shouldn't panic is because the admins are also stating that Kuudra's loot is going to be significantly changed. For those who don't know, the attribute system is very much tied to Kuudra, and it's one of the main reasons why people use things like Kuudra gear over some alternatives. Things like Aurora, for example, aren't that much better than Storm, and with attributes being on everything, Storm might be better than it in quite a few situations. So they're definitely going to make some adjustments to Aurora, for example, to make it quite a bit stronger and more usable long term. I also imagine this is going to include some new weaponry and perhaps some new gear to replace things like the Wheel of Fate, which wouldn't be useful in this new system. As a quick aside, I just want to say thank you guys so much for getting the channel so close to 65k. If you could like and subscribe down below, that really would mean a lot. We also have a Discord link down below in which I'm currently running a giveaway, and I run giveaways there pretty often, so feel free to join. Generally, as we move towards the foraging update, I think they could be more specific when it comes to how these changes are going to play out, especially with regards to how much players are going to receive in return for the new system. Are they going to get 100% of the attribute transferred over? Is it going to be an amount significantly less? Is it going to be done in a specific manner to make it more reasonable? Is Kuudra loot going to be changed around by a very large margin, or are we going to see minor stat boosts? All of these changes are going to be pretty important for the long-term health of the game, because I believe that the longer we go without more information, the more concerned people are going to get. However, I do believe that this system is more beneficial than it is detrimental, and here are a few reasons why. Number 1 is it's much more modular. Let's be honest, the Crimson Isle had some problems at release, and many of those problems were fixed with the Kuudra revamp. However, many of them still persist, and the current attribute system is one of those issues. It's caused a lot of situations in which soul binding is basically required for much of the gear. It's also specific to the Crimson Isle, so it can't easily be replaced or improved upon in the future, and it's also specific to things like combat and a couple fishing attributes. I really think they could do a lot with this system when it comes to things like farming, mining, foraging, and eventually hunting. as well as the new global attribute system. But currently, things are kind of locked in their current state, and I believe things could be greatly improved with this new system on the modularity front. Number 2 is that god rolls will be a thing of the past, but in a good way. Basically, you'll be able to more easily build craft and create more unique builds, and hopefully one set of perks won't be the best for every activity. This will also be better because you won't need to buy an entire new set of armor when you just want to do something minor like swap a few stats around. Things like that are really good for the game, allowing players to create more unique playstyles, perhaps even some greater build crafting like I mentioned before. I really do think there's a lot that can be done in this regard to Skyblock, and hopefully it just makes things better long term. The third reason this is better, in my opinion, is because it actually gives the admins the ability to buff and nerf things as they please. Let's be honest, if they nerfed any of the attributes right now, people would throw a fit. If they buffed any of the other attributes, people would also throw a fit. Getting rid of the system currently in its entirety, transferring over the vast majority of attributes to the new system at a 100% rate, and allowing people to go from there is way more beneficial than leaving things as is, because not only does it prevent future development of combat content and kind of limits the game design in that way or in that factor, but it also allows them to eventually further expand on the system, perhaps adding even more types of attributes or even more unique combinations, which I really think is great for the game long term. Although I personally feel like the new system is way superior to the old one, I do feel for the players who have spent a lot of money on the old attribute system, armor sets, and things of that nature. Obviously, I want the admins to be able to transition people over to the new system while retaining their progress and being as generous as they say they're going to be. I don't know with a 100% certainty how things are going to shake out, but based on what the admins have stated here, I would be very surprised if you weren't compensated fairly. And I also hope that they're able to buff things related to Kuudra, because let's be honest, if they don't, that boss is cooked. Aside from that though, I do believe that the attribute system is heading in a right direction, and let's be honest, the old one was not great from its inception. It just sucks that we have to replace it 2 years after it released, rather than a couple months or even a year after. People have invested so much time and effort into this, and it really sucks to see even a little bit of it removed or made meaningless, but I really don't think things are going to be too bad based on what the admins have said. At the end of the day though, I want to hear your comments down below. Let me know if you like this system, if you hate it, if you think the admins are going to refund you, if you think I'm terrible at the game, feel free to let me know. My name's Derailious, thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future fellas, I'll see you then.